Hello, Active Sage here on the Sage channel, and this is an extremely close look at the Argo MPUV. Let's see, did I get that name right? I believe I did. Yes, indeedy. Argo MPUV platform in a galaxy full of badass starfighters, impossibly complex explorers, massive cargo ships, and rough and ready miners. Is there room for something simplistic? The team at Argo Astronautics says yes. The Argo may not be any kind of warship. It's unlikely an Argo will ever be the first to set down an alien world, but they are an essential part of the human commerce, which makes them a valuable tool for anybody interested in building a mercantile empire. So anyway, this is one of the latest ships added to Star Citizen. With the most recent update to Star Citizen, update 2.5 I believe it was, they have added 3 new ships. These two, which is really just one ship with a swappable module, and then the lovely little, I believe they called it the Reliant, not Robin, but the Reliant. It's a nice little ship I might be doing another video on. But anyway, we're here today to do our extremely close look at this beautiful bastard here. Now, we first saw this ship, well, I think it was a year ago at Gamescom. It was such a beautiful little thing. It was suddenly, out of the blue, this tiny little orange bastard that actually looked like it was designed to, well, just haul cargo and be super functional with a great field of view from the cockpit. I mean, look at that. It's a cockpit that looks like it's actually designed to fly in 6 degrees of freedom. Oh, and it's bumping, as does still happen. You might notice, though, there's 2 of them in here. As I mentioned earlier, basically they're the same ship. They just have this lower pod that's swappable right now. At the time of recording, they're for sale on the store, but I think they'll be gone. If you're thinking about buying one, I'd actually hold off on it. Not much point in these. As you might have gotten the gist of it, they don't exactly have weapons. They don't exactly have a quantum drive or a jump drive. They can't really get around too far, but they're designed to be this awesome little jump ship to go from your capital ship or larger ships down to a planet and back up again, or at least to a station. They're actually really damn awesome. One of the sales pitches of these was sort of the idea that they are a futuristic, what do you call it? Not a caterpillar, a lifter, a forklift. That's the word I was looking for. So I love these damn things. Just their whole industrial feel of them, all of that. And I was so dang excited when I found out that not only are they their own beautiful little ship, but they're also made by their own new company, so hopefully we'll see more ships with this sort of same industrial art style down the line. Argo Astronautics, I believe it was called. Absolutely adore them so much. Anyway, let's get to work on our close look at this bugger. It's such a beautiful thing. I guess we'll just start at the front, and I'll try not to spend 3,000 years on it as I have done in the past. Oh dearie ship, kindly stop bouncing, it's dangerous. Let's just appreciate some of the beauty here right away in the fact that, well, the whole art design of it has that sort of 45-degree angle thing that I love, or at least the harder angles where it comes down to here and then drops down, and then that whole design shape there is mirrored in the window too. And they don't even have, well, they have the rounded corners here, but they don't just have rounded corners down here at the bottom, they even have this slight edge going up here, which is fantastic, and I can't really get the best look. Let's lay on the floor really quick here. Yes, indeed, they do have little tiny windows stuck in here as well. The idea being you could look down and see out the bottom there, and that's the whole reason why they have this slightly altered angle right there. Just fantastic. Moving along from that, we also have our little footrests here, which are pretty awesome. Do these extend out when we open the door? Unfortunately not. Oh, look, gullwing door sort of things. Well, not exactly gullwing doors, but they fold upwards. Absolutely gorgeous. And now we're inside a god dang amazing cockpit. And as I mentioned, great field of view. A little bit of trouble looking down to our right there. Can't really see quite too well there, but overall, the field of view is pretty awesome. You do lose some visibility looking up, but overall, it's a pretty great view, especially for something that you imagine is going to be looking at the ground, trying to choose its landing spot and buzzing about to land and then pick something up and move away. I hope Argo will continue to build more ships with this great sort of field of view here, as well as maybe ships where the grabbers and everything will be in front of this cockpit, so you'll be able to see very clearly. And you can see the detail in here, as per usual, on Star Citizen ships is pretty damn high. You can see, looks like almost all of these switches are all modeled in there, and even if they're not modeled in there, they're using all of their fantastic normal maps and also these offset maps to make it look like they have proper depth in all of these bloody switches. And of course, you have all the paneling in the ceiling. It's not just one big texture. It actually looks like it's broken up into a bunch of different useful panels. It's pretty damn awesome. And of course, you got this high voltage thing above me that I keep wanting to stick my fingers at the top and pull it off just to see what's in there. Emergency override? What kind of emergency override? Absolutely adore it. All these little lights, I love it. And of course, all these little screens here with their beautiful little cut in at the bottom there. I love it so very much. And of course, once you're actually flying the ship, all this stuff actually does light up. As for the doors themselves in here, pretty awesome. Once again, you got your override thing for the airlock, so you can pop that and get yourself out. Not really much of an airlock per se, but I guess it does imply that this room could be pressurized. You got your little pole metal coming down all the way at the front there and front there, just sort of to give you more detail on the inside of the cockpit. And you even got some nifty little handles, something I absolutely adore when they stick little handles like that. And then, of course, on the side doors, you even have the nice big cut in, the sort of oval shape one there on the left, as well as a lever to pull to get out. And let's actually get out of here. I'll hold F to get out. Unfortunately, it doesn't look like there's any animation for that currently that pulls the handle, but the door pops open. Something nifty about that door too, you might have noticed there, is the fact that it's sort of double color. The inside is sort of the darker plastic and the outside is sort of the painted plastic, or I guess metal. It's probably all metal thinking about it. It's great. The amount of detail is fantastic. By the way, looking down here at the front, when we had those little tiny windows we were mentioning here, don't forget we also have these awesome little lights, just like something from a cat worker or something. It's all very industrial and I absolutely adore it. And yes, the ship is bouncing. But you can see they even took the time to model in the metal reaching down into the circular endpoint that then connects into these, making it look like these could rotate up and down. And look at that. They even have a little wire leading to that one there. Do we have one on the other one? Nope, but, well, maybe I can't really tell. The light is a bit blinding. Yep, there is a wire there. So they even have consistency with that, which is fantastic. And then we have these slightly bigger ones up here with the same sort of connection mechanism with the circular joint there, making it look like they could rotate. I doubt they will rotate, but it is awesome that the detail is there. It just, it's fantastic. I love the color breakup here too between the door and then the rest of the body here, where this is the body and obviously the orange bit is the door. And even just the details they stick in here, I'm pretty sure this is all texture work, but it gives you such a good feeling of depth, like you could pull this panel off and do some manual work on it. Absolutely adore it. All the panel breakups in this ship are so nice. Love it, love it, love it. I love it so much. There's an A there. I wonder if that's for Argo Aeronautics. Was it? I love it. Astronautics, pardon. I just did a quick double check there. Anyway, moving on from there, we do have this big roll cage sort of piece of metal here, which, look at this. They actually have an indentation, the little nuts and bolts sort of holding it in there. It all looks like it makes sense, you know? It looks like if you had this set of proper screws or hex wrenches or whatever, you could actually take this thing apart yourself. It's mostly just texture work here, but it still gets the point across and it looks fantastic, which then connects into this sort of cap leading down the whole roll cage thing all the way up to the very front. So if you sort of come in for a hard landing and bump on the side, you're not going to just crash and crack your glass or damage your stairs. Well, maybe the bottom stair, but overall it's going to be pretty alright, which I absolutely adore. Just the fact that this roll cage adds so much to it. Like without the roll cage there, it would look awesome because it would look like this strange dangling little alien cockpit, but it wouldn't exactly fit with the bulk of the main ship behind it where the cargo pod is sitting. So they added this and it just looks fantastic to have that stuck in there. God, I love the sloping down of the roof there too. It is so beautiful. All the angles here are just so beautiful. I absolutely adore them. Oh, I love this ship. Anyway, our stairs here, you can see they got nice little bevels coming down and then down all the way around the whole thing. Lots of attention to detail. Also on our roll cage here, I'd like to point out just the fact that they have this awesome little connector going between the other side and this side of the roll cage. And then the more little connectors here where they actually connect into the stairwell right there. And then of course the stairwell is, as you can see, the metal goes up and then inwards. It's not just a piece of square metal going up into the stairs and disappearing. They actually have it going inwards, making it look like the stairs are structurally supported by this, as well as this is, of course, structurally supported by the clamps. And then we got our other little step there, which seems kind of redundant, as you wouldn't really be able to reach it, apparently, but it's still a nice little piece of detail and a little something else to get bent up if you come in for a hard landing. Speaking of which, of landing, we do have this awesome landing gear here, which looks like it's all sorts of engineered to move about with our large circular points here. The fact that they actually have these little connectors that pop out of the side, drop down, and have a nice little circular bolt going into the bottom floor. And they even have another sort of piece of metal there. Seems like it's all very well thought out and very beautiful, as well as another large hinge there leading down into this, so it looks like the front could sort of bend up and down right here on its own. And I believe a lot of this moves. Near the end of this video, we'll do a quick look at this when it's actually in flight. Moving on from this main area here, which I guess the best way to move on would actually be get on top of this. Can we make a quick jump right here and hop up here? Yes, we can. Very nice. And you'll see that from the top of the vehicle, it sort of blends and merges into the whole top body. I love the way the lines of this ship flow. So it's all still very angular, but you can follow the orange area here where it goes from just a little cockpit, and these lines here that sort of bump up here with this nice little angles on all that, it sort of leads up and turns into the rest of the top part there. Let's hop back up there once more real quick. There we go. And you can see that it just, I love it. I just love it the way the cockpit is sort of held together from these two big pieces here, like fingers reaching out and grabbing hold of it. And that whole line bends outwards and then bends back in. Sort of, I don't know, it reminds me of the Gladius, and the way the Gladius had this so many interesting angular lines sort of pulling it all together. And we also have so many other little bits of detail up here that you might not notice right away. Like I keep talking about this large piece shooting back, but what about this right here? This little bit right here, this orange blop up, where it's bumping up a little bit. They even have a little bit of detail here where it bumps out just to give it a little bit more detail, make it look like it's clamped into the lower piece a little bit more. And it comes back here and it doesn't just end in a circular piece. No, it comes to this almost temple diamond piece that comes back. And once again, they have a little bit of output right here, boop, boop, just to give it a little bit more detail, a little bit more interest to the eye, instead of it just being a simple thing shooting all the way back. And then of course in the middle here, once again using this beautiful orange and black where they keep breaking stuff up with these two simple colors. I love it so much. They have all these little piping things stuck in here, which again is sort of reminding me of the Gladius, or even if you've ever been on top of the Saber, they have all these vents and stuff in here, but instead of just vents in here, they have these beautiful little pipes that sort of reach out and then bump back in. And the fact that you have this little piece of metal that bumps out here with these interesting little angles that matches, sort of counters this bump out, is just so beautiful. And I love it so much that you actually have these little bit of geometry here bumping out to make it actually look like it's connected in. Absolutely adore that. And of course, like I said, we also have the darker metal in here as well. That's just sort of barely, it's almost the same level as this orange top area here, but it just is a little tiny bit lower down, sort of to give you the idea that, hey, this is a different section. We're here to protect it just a little bit. Still keep it open so you can maintenance and replace stuff if it breaks, but just enough to let you know it's a different area. Absolutely adore it. I think this area right here, if we were to lay down, this little tiny bump up where our hand was just stuck on top of, there, our hand's on top of it right now. That area there is, unfortunately, I think it's really hard to tell. It looks like it's actually modeled in there. It bumps up a little bit, which is really, really fantastic. But it's so hard to tell if it actually is modeled up. A little unfortunate that it's so hard to tell, but then again, at the same time, maybe it's not so bad if I can't tell one way or the other necessarily. Pretty great. Also at the top here, I think this is a docking collar. Currently it doesn't work, but this is a multi-purpose ship where the large cargo container below it's going to be swapped out for a billion different things as time goes on, so we can expect this door to maybe connect to another something at some point, which is pretty damn awesome. Right now, can't really do anything with it at all, just sit on top of it and poke about. We have these here, which I think, are these for maneuvering thrusters? There's a lot of maneuvering stuff. Either way though, just looking at them, they're pretty cool. The fact that they're modeled in there, relatively simplistic, but very nice to take a quick look at. I love them. A bit simple, but again, it's all texture work, but it works pretty well, and I don't think they expect you to be sticking your head up here with them. Oh, by the way, speaking about around these, because they do, the darker area here does pop up just a little bit. Yeah, right there pops up, and then of course drops down with this nice little beveled edge right around the whole, that black line there, sort of bevels down and then drops really far. But something behind it that's awesome is this line right here, this area right here. That is awesome because it bumps back up. It goes from this sort of lower area and bumps gently back up with this beautiful beveled scourge, and then the way it just blends right here, and also the fact that they have a panel gap that follows along it, sort of to make sure it still feels like a separate piece, that this all isn't just one big piece of samey metal. Oh god, I keep falling off. Dearie me, oh my. Bit annoying that. Can't have too much refined movement. Probably should have one hand on a controller and one hand on the mouse for this. Also, this area here that we were originally talking about that connects into the front like fingers and reaches back, it does have, of course, a color breakup here where they have this darker piece that sort of says, hey, look, we're connecting to something else, but it does continue all the way back to here with a little cooler panel where you could, in theory, replace what's beneath that. And I suspect if the ship got shot up, you'd actually see the cooler beneath it. Coming to the very back, you can see this pointy thing we've been talking about here, the temple-like piece. Then, oh my god, there's just so much detail. Then meets its exact opposite, a negative space, which is so beautiful. But instead of having this line here on the edge of this negative space just match up to the exact edge of this piece that was coming down, they offset it into the middle to give you some, well, just beautiful lines. Instead of them just all lining up perfectly, it offsets it just that little bit to give you some more detail. It's a fantastic amount of work. And you can see some grunge in there with the shield generator and stuff. It is very nice. And of course, that darker area there are the thrusters that sort of obviously feel like they're just coming out of that whole top section. Absolutely gorgeous. I love them so very much. And as for the thrusters themselves, it's an interesting design choice because they have this, continuing of the hard edges, or not necessarily hard edges, but the angular look of them shoosting out, and then of course the cutaway here of this angle to keep the ship sort of pointed at the back as well. But then they have these big circular thruster points with all these little vent lines in there. I absolutely love it, actually. It would have looked sort of wrong if they were just square as well, unless they had done some, 45-degree angles here or something. But no, they just circled them in. It actually looks like it works pretty damn well. I love it. All these different angles here too, of course, like this running down this way and then back out that way. And you're not seeing any serious geometry issues at all. One of the reasons why I never put out a video on the Saber is because it had a lot of geometry issues on the outside every time I looked at it, and some issues on the inside. So I never, well, not the Saber, the Vanguard. Never did a video on the Vanguard because every time I did it, I just spent basically all of my time grumping about some graphical issues I found. This, pretty damn well done. Pretty damn well done. A little bit of texture stretching here on this little bump in, but I don't think it's really too much of an issue. Not to mention it's just awesome that they actually took the time to model in this little bump in, then it drops down around that corner and into this sort of flat area here. Just a lot of detail in such a simple thing. I love it. And at the top, they don't have that same amount of detail, but they at least just took the time to put this texture of this black line running along here to break it up. Absolutely adore it. There's just so much detail everywhere. I mean, looking at this big dark spot here where it just comes along, has its, angles right here where it sort of cuts in, similar to right there at the top, keeping up the same thing. Oh my god. Sorry, getting distracted. The fact that we have the thruster here, and I didn't realize it cuts in and then goes flat again right there. Such a nice counter, especially from right here where you can see it actually breaks out into the negative space of the open world. So beautiful. And the detail behind this large thruster coupling right there with the triangle is so nice. But anyway, as I was saying about this, it then has these drop downs here where they come down at an angle, and then curve back up actually, but it sort of keeps the same curvature of that bevel there. Yeah. Oh my god, it doesn't really curve straight back up. It does go up at an angle. Love it so much because these little pieces make the ship feel like they're held together with these big clamps almost. It's very nice. Oh my god, suddenly I'm facing the other way. So much love for this. Absolutely adore this ship. I love it when they have these little ships like this, where it feels like every inch of this was really well thought out and really well designed. Could you imagine if the really big ships were like this? It would just be incredible if, you had this much detail every few feet. I absolutely would love that so much. That one video I did for the, what was it, Starfarer, that huge monstrosity of a ship, I did, I believe, 3 videos on it. Yeah, that one, the exterior kind of let me down a little bit in some areas because the density of detail was nowhere near as high as this, but at the same time it was a MISC ship, so it wasn't exactly going to be expected to have this same amount of detail. It wasn't from what was that beautiful company called? Anvil or any of the other ones. MISC sort of has a more simplistic, rounded exterior shape. But by the way, I just came up here just to point out that this section here looks like it's actually modeled in and bumps up. Just this plating right here, the fact that it bumps up, and oh, it's so beautiful. Right there you can see where the edges are bumping up and then bumping up again, just to give you more detail, more panel work. Anyway, as I was saying, earlier, we get these darker areas here to indicate it's transferring to a different material type, like this. This actually looks like, similar to thrusters, like it's just jetting out of the orange area here. And the orange area with its beautiful angles coming back, this is sort of countering that with just straight forward and backwards area. And then you have this nice circular piece that sort of looks like it could pop out of it like some sort of old turret or droid face. And that's actually your thruster. That's your maneuvering thruster there, which is pretty damn cool. And the flames will shoot out of that. I have an interact prompt, by the way. It's just for that, I suspect. Pretty damn awesome. I love these things, actually, because sometimes it really does bug me when you see the little tiny circular thrusters aiming in every which direction. I wish they'd just be static, and I don't think these do too much spinning. They just sort of thrust in the direction without spinning the whole thing around too much. I love it so very much. And I think the thrust actually comes out of that circular port or this one here, and there might be one on the top as well. Let's do a quick check if we can successfully make our jump here. Yep, there it is right at the top. So I don't think that thing spins around. It just jets the thrust in whatever direction it needs, which I really like. So much love. So much love. And you see here, this curvature here to match that, obviously, and then it comes in at an angle. So nice. And then this goes up, comes out at an angle, and then goes flat again, merging back into it. And you even got these nice little pipes that go all the way along here, and oh, they even have some bumping out detail where they're sort of not just straight back, they bend and twist a little bit before connecting into this thing, which isn't just a square, it's a sort of rectangular face there, but then it comes in at an angle. And once again, we're following the same design here where it goes up, angle, flat. We have up right there, angle, and then flat. So beautiful. And of course, this is that darker area where I said it was making a change. It's not directly connected, but below it, you can see the darker area here where we have this huge joint. And of course, again, angle, down, flat, but it's not even super flat. It actually is a slight angle as well, because this whole thing here is at an angle when it's parked. So it's keeping up the same design language there of not straight to a flat, because then people would be looking at this expecting it to go straight down and flat. Nope, it goes down at an angle. Absolutely gorgeous. And I love the fact that you have these big round pieces. Oh, and even this little joint bit that pops up here, like you could put a little clank through it or something to pull something along or tweak things or change things. Oh my god, and we got like an intake or outtake right there that just bends pretty damn well into everything. It's not too bad. Oh my god, there's just so much little detail. A lot of smoother things here. It feels like it's just sort of forming shapes. Oh my god, look at that little piece of metal actually stuck on the front there, and the fact that it bumps out, almost like you could imagine that being a light at some point, or if they have to maintenance it, that's where they pull some of it apart, or these are all the outer shelling pieces of all this, where you pull those apart, and then you see the inner structure is just, metal scaffolding. You'd be pulling all these big orange pieces off just to get to the inner area here. This big panel here, which looks like it could just pop off at any second. I don't think it's actually modeled in there. Yeah, it's not, but it is an awesome looking panel. And of course the whole thing, the fact that it's, oh my god, there's so many interesting shapes here. Because it's sort of flat here, it goes in at all these angles, and then down here, it sort of counters that by coming out at an angle, but it's a more beveled and smooth. And all of this right here is a smaller piece that sort of looks like it fits into the larger square area there, as if this is mounted on top of it, ready to rock and roll. And then of course this is cut in with a darker section jetting out of all of that. So beautiful. I absolutely adore this. I mean, look at all these lines that come down here and then bend over, and everything is still following this, angular design. And even if it's smooth, like this piece here, it sort of smooths down. And then it comes back at an angle, but even right there, it's so hard to see, but the darker splotch there, that's angled. Because if we come to here, you can see it's a slightly angled piece right here where it goes from left to right, before coming down to this little square divot that sticks out. So nifty. By the way, in the past I've used like a Alt spacebar or whatever to get my mouse to show up so I can actually point at stuff with my mouse. That doesn't seem to work anymore. That's why I'm not using it, if anybody's curious. Got the same thruster thing here that we've seen before. Texture work seems like it drops down a little bit on the inside of that, but who knows, it might be something that gets swapped out in the PU and suddenly things look a little bit better. We do also have some textures that are most definitely getting stretched all over right there in the middle. Not exactly ideal, but it's not too bad. You don't even notice from like right here, so that might not be even something worth fixing. Oh boy. Just check out these little lights too, these little puck lights they have stuck around the thing. There's so many things here. The detail just goes through the roof on this, and just the amount of lines and edges flowing everywhere. It's just so beautiful and well thought out. And once again, at the top, we had this larger dark section. We got the same at the bottom, but for the landing gear this time. And you can see that we sort of have this piece of metal plating that comes in, drops, and goes around. And then at the front, it drops a little bit more and has this beautiful little pattern on it that carries around the whole thing. And we even have this nice little indentation at the front where it bumps back up a little bit, similar to the controls, or the control screens up there. Pretty nifty. I love it so much. Oh, and then similar to the front, where we had the front sort of toe of the landing gear that could move, looks like we might have something similar here where it could move. I don't exactly see logic behind how it would work, but nonetheless, we do have the rounded pieces there. I'd expect this sort of reaching out center toe to be connected up to later on, so when it gets pulled back, it would sort of pull the toe up. But I don't know exactly how it works. There might be servos in there. That might be part of the idea. Overall, though, still incredible. God, I love this little piece of metal that just sort of rounds around the back, sort of to protect it. It's a little tiny bit of extra detail in what would otherwise be a rather bland area. And once again, all these little connection pieces reaching down to the big flat rectangular piece on the very bottom, holding it all together, and all the angles reaching back up. Oh, so well thought out. I love it. Anyway, I think that's it for the actual body of it. We do also have this arm here, which I can't exactly make heads or tails out of perfectly. It sort of looks like it's connected up to here, and maybe the whole thing swivels out with this arm and grabs hold of things and pulls it up to lock it in place. Let's see if we have one on the other side. We do indeed. So these might be sort of arms so it can reach down and grab stuff. They don't look like they're specifically connected in to the cargo module, which we're now going to look at, which is probably my favorite module just because it feels like it could hold people or hold cargo. And let's open the door. How awesome is that, huh? You press the button. Dunk. Absolutely adore this door. Love it so much. It's a circular door too, which sometimes it's like, okay, circular doors, they can just be the bee's knees, can't they? It's just fantastic. And I love the fact that it goes in right there and then out and then over. It's so cool. And one of the beautiful things is they designed it so the window still works. So if you're, let's close this. There we go. You see there's got a little window here. When it opens the window, you can still keep looking out of that if you've been looking out of it. It's awesome. We climb in here. By the way, you might notice that it's a slightly small ship. Something you might not have actually been able to tell the full scale from the outside. Oh, where's the button? There we go. Press the button to open up the back door of it. It's a very small thing. It's not going to be holding huge amounts of cargo. It's, like we said earlier, designed to go from maybe your capital ship down to a planet or between ships like that. But it's a pretty tiny little thing. Let's use our controller and gently walk inside here now. And our character auto crouches down a little bit. Yeah, so it's a pretty tight space. Oh, and our camera's freaking out a little bit. So yeah, not exactly the most spacious thing in the world, but actually I'm kind of alright with small ships like this. I really love it, actually, because something that happens in a lot of games, especially MMOs and stuff, is you end up with these huge hallways, these massive hallways where you can have 50 people wide and the scale goes completely to shite. This is so nice to have something that has proper scale. You know, it's like you get the feeling this is something that would exist in the real world because it's designed just to hold a little bit of cargo and shift it about. I absolutely love it. We got the standard stuff on the ground here, by the way, the sort of grab plates to hold your cargo in place. You got your doors over here, which make a lot more sense when you're going to fill up that whole space with cargo. If you got somebody sitting in here, because you can carry one person up, you still got your doors to get in and out, and also it's a good way to keep loading stuff in if you accidentally load something really big there, and you still have lots of little stuff you want to load in back here and pile up. You got your buttons for the doors on the side here. Not sure why they say 1, 2, 3, but they do say 1, 2, 3. And of course, you can currently still just click on the door. The doors themselves, beautiful amount of detail. The line work and the fact that that comes down and then goes back out, just leading your eye down towards the center and then letting it flow gently outwards towards the base of the door. And little arrows and lots of little detail work on these doors. I love them so much. And the fact that they bevel outwards and then go back to a flat plateau. Absolutely adore these doors so much. Love them. Oh, God. And then on the inside, remember how I mentioned I really like hand railing and stuff like we had inside the front? Well, they have it running all the way around here from the whole door, and they have a little flat surface on the bottom because it's where we're going to be stepping, and they even have this interesting little like trip step here for some reason. Don't understand it, but I like it because it makes it feel so much flatter, like you're supposed to be stepping on that to get out to the outer side, where we even have another little of these little step platforms here. Fantastic. Actual shape and design here also carries on with the angle that keeps it matched up with the angle of the top beam here before dropping down and having a little angle that sort of mirrors that, but not exactly. It works pretty damn well overall, though. It's a beautiful little thing. And then the back of it also has an angle here. It's not just a flat up and down. Comes back at that angle. Let's press a little button. Something I do love that they've started doing is putting the proper buttons in to interact with stuff instead of just clicking on doors. It can be useful to just click on a door when you want to get stuff done, but it does add a whole nother level of immersion where you're like, where's the button? I gotta know where the button is to open the thing up. It's such a simple thing, but I really, really adore it. We have some minor wobbles going on here, but we do have this darker metal that, if you look very closely, once it reaches this sort of bend point, it bends downwards a little bit more, similar to the main bulk of the door where it goes down, but not all the way, giving you some nice dividing edges to the left and the right of it. And of course, we have a beautiful amount of texture work here, just breaking up what would otherwise be a very bland surface. Pretty damn awesome, isn't it? I love it so very much. Where's the button on the inside? Let's press that, close it. We'll try to stand up too. We're not standing all the way up, we're still crouched down a little bit. And you can see our own body there. You might notice I'm also wearing some slightly different clothing. If you don't know, the latest update also added a new zone to the game, Grim Hex. Kind of huge place, but also kind of disappointingly small at the same time. I might do a video on it in the future. I went to do a tour while I had access to the test universe, and I sort of fell through the world, and then my FPS decided it didn't like me anymore. Seems like that's improved a lot. By the way, just coming back to this railing, I just wanted to point out the fact that it does have the clasps again holding it all together before dropping down into another sort of clasp that merges into the whole body. And we even have all these little vents here on the sides, which I don't think they're modeled in. I think they're just a texture, but once again, they do very good at making making their textures give a sense of depth, which is really, really awesome. We also have some of this netting here. I don't know in the future if we'll actually be able to store stuff in this netting. I hope so. If not, it at least does add a very nice amount of depth to the walls. And then, of course, you have all these big metal chop ends here for the walls themselves, bumping in, and this beautiful fabric on the back where I kind of just want to run my fingers up and down it to feel the like sound and all that on it. And even we got some simple stuff here where I really would have expected this here to go straight down an angle where it does there, but you can see it does bulge out that tiny little bit there and cut in here just to match with the door. Because the door does have its circular cutout even on the inside just to keep up appearances of it. Absolutely love it. It's a very connected ship. It feels like it's all been very well thought through. I love all the bevels and the angles and stuff. You can get a little beveled edge here and the flat and the angle. So beautiful. And then you got all these little puck running lights again on the inside. And then, of course, that door on the top that we were mentioning earlier. Right there. And you can see it's even got the window cut out. Like you could imagine them at some point popping that out and actually putting a proper window there. And once again, more metal grasps reaching out to hold it all together. Everything feels like it's pretty damn well thought out. You even got these little tiny metal things running up and across and over to the far wall just to sort of hold the netting in place. Absolutely adore it. Anyway, you're probably wondering what the seat looks like if we were to go ahead and sit down on it. So we'll sit down on it just so you can get a feeling of sitting in the back of the ship. Alright, there you go. Pretty nifty. Pretty simple and straightforward, but hey, it gets the point across. Let's hop back out of the seat. It's a nice little simple seat. And I love the fact that that's a seatbelt right there. So you could imagine clicking that in. Don't know if they'll ever animate that, but it would be awesome if they did. And you can see the design of the chair is pretty simple. It reaches up and over, but it does have all these little joint pieces here, as if you should be able to flip this and fold it up to save even more space. Argo Astronautics. I cannot wait for you to come out with more ships. By the way, check this out. Flat surface here, and then it bends up the wall before going to a slightly flat angle up to get you some more height in here, because this does drop straight up there, and then it carries on the rest of the way. But I just love the fact that it does have the circular back wall here to match the door. So cool. I love it. Anyway, one last thing to show in this video. God almighty, I love that so much. Isn't the cargo module, it's the one over here, where the ship itself should be the exact same ship, but the module it has here is actually, I believe, it's built by Aegis. That was the other company's name I couldn't remember earlier. It's an Aegis escape pod, basically. So I'm hoping Argo will have a proper cargo module for people, because that's sort of what this is, letting it be its own little tiny space taxi. But right now, this is just an escape pod, really, for like a capital ship, for one of like the big Aegis capital ships that kind of go kaboom every now and again. And you can see it's got its own landing gears here stuck into the thing. A pretty nice amount of detail with these pistons coming down. Can't exactly understand how it all works, but I'm assuming when this folds out, these pistons will line up with these two cut ends here. And then, of course, the feet will go flat. So it's pretty nifty. This thing's, as I said, an escape pod, so you got these little like thrustery things here on the thing. Lots of little details bumping into it all. I'm not going to spend too much on it because it is an escape pod, and I do think it's going to be replaced in the future. They haven't said this is just speculation, but I do believe they're going to replace it in the future with hopefully Argo's own sort of cargo pod for people, because that thing feels like it could almost store more people if it just had seats along the sides. That said, this actually does store a huge number of people if we were to stop looking at the beautiful little details crammed in there and the interesting sort of red tarping there, and come over here to the door, which is an incredible door, which I absolutely love. Again, a circular door, but this one splits in half. Ah, it's so beautiful! I'm sorry, I just love it so much. Little details here like these handles, like manual release, because again, this is supposed to be an escape pod. It's not supposed to be something you look at too much, so I do think they hopefully should make a proper Argo pod for this thing, for carrying people. But if we can get in here, once again, it is a very cramped space. You can see in a lot of ways it's more cramped than the other one. And then you got all your billion seats in here, and once again, puck lights. So it's a lot of the same design as the other one, even though it's of course made by a different company, but same material, same textures, all very nice. I absolutely love it. I really do just adore it. The only thing I would say is, you know, maybe slightly more headspace, and maybe have it actually made by Argo, and maybe have a civilian version with little tiny windows behind each of these things. That would be awesome. Anyway, guys and gals, that's about it. I could spend some time talking about this, but like I said, it's not exactly made by Argo. It is one of the different modules you could buy. By the time this video is live, you probably can't buy these anymore. Like I said, I wouldn't suggest buying them anyway, since they don't have any jump drives, weapons, or any of that. And the cargo stuff, mechanics aren't in the game yet. Once it is, hopefully you'll be able to spend, you know, literally 60 hours on one planet just transporting cargo around a city or up to space and back. But for the time being, not too much point to it, even if it is gorgeous and a lot of fun to fly about in. Oh god, I love the angles of these ceilings here, the fact that they come down and then angle back, because it matches the outside so much. It's so beautiful. I love it. I adore this thing. I just wish Argo had their own version. Anyway, last thing to do on this video is just to show you guys this thing in flight. So we're going to go ahead and go to... well, let's just do it the proper way, shall we? Run ourselves over here. By the way, like I said, some new clothing. Awesome new clothing. Don't like the pants too much. Still a bit tight, it seems. I wish I had something that sort of matched the jacket, but I couldn't really find anything in the hurry I was when I was buying this stuff. You can buy them with in-game credits. Remember, game's still in early access, so a lot of this gets reset, so I'll have to buy this again next time they spit out a big update. But anyway, let's go back to first person. Let's go ahead and hop ourselves through here. Select you, and go ahead and get ourselves to Crusader. Unfortunately, you cannot select the new spawn area. You can only just select Crusader. It's a bit disappointing, really, but I guess it is supposed to be a pirate spawn zone. So if you get a criminal record, you'll be spawning there at the new area Grim Hex from now on. Wakey, wakey, eggs and bakey. So here we are at Port Olisar. You've all probably seen this before. Hasn't really changed too much at all, unfortunately. We still don't have any large interior walkways or anything connecting all the different spawn zones. We got a few shops scattered about. I'm pretty sure I mentioned some of these before. But anyway, let's go ahead and get ourselves the Argo cargo one, because that's my favorite. Beep-a-doo, and it's at Planet 2. Let's follow the signs. I love following the signs, even though it gives you a little dot to tell you where to go. The signs are just so damn enjoyable to follow. Pop ourselves a door open here. Make sure you got your helmet on, or you will expire once you exit this area. Go ahead and press this button. Hopefully nobody else was trying to get in the door real quick. Hate locking people out. There we go. And pad 2 is this way. Pad poo, I almost said pad 2. Love following those signs. I love stuff like that in a game where you have all these signage and stuff telling you where to go. And there we go. Here's our beauty actually sitting in this open world. Gorgeous, gorgeous thing. I love it so much. And of course, the lighting might be a little bit different here. If we were to pop it open, overall pretty much the same. Love this thing. Let's go ahead and just show you guys it in action really quickly for the end of this video. Pop the door. Unfortunately, they still do this teleport thing, or if you've interacted with the door, it's going to teleport you into it. Hate that so much. Really, really despise that 100%. Because I wish I could just open the door and admire the ship. There we go. And let's hold F4 so we can see on the outside. Oh, that other ship took off. Big, big ship. That's the Starfarer, I believe. Go ahead and press spacebar and get ourselves off the ground a little bit. Fly ourselves over and forward. There we go. And then I believe it was V to switch into a different flight mode. Or was it in? In to disable our landing mode. There you go. How beautiful is that, huh? Let's zoom our camera out here a little bit, rotate it around. God dang beautiful. And they've started changing how they do flares and highlights and like lens flares and all this stuff, so you get some more glow and stuff on stuff. It's stuff on stuff. Repetitive. Sorry about that. Beautiful. Anyway, let's press in again just to switch between modes so you can see those landing gears do come down. Looks like the tow bit on the front doesn't currently move. Hopefully in the future we'll actually see that, but if not, whatever. It's still pretty damn cool to see those simple little pieces rotate about. And then, of course, if we were to go ahead and fly about, let's hold Z and rotate our camera a little bit, and we'll burst forward a little bit. You can see those cool little engines of ours firing a little tiny bit to get us moving. You can also see the little thrusters there at the corners firing the way I was talking about. Look at that. And we even got some at the very bottom there under the cockpit that move us about. Love it, love it, love it, love it, love it. I'm so in love with this ship. And you can see why when these large arms rotate, the thruster sections, the circular thruster sections don't move either. And now, of course, we can go ahead and be moving ourselves forward. I love it so, so very much. It's only letting me rotate the camera a little bit at a time, but there we go. And you can see on the tops of those arms, we even got little thrusters stuck in there as well. There we go. Camera's working now. Green light, red light, red light. Awesome. Absolutely adore this ship. God, I love it so much. By the way, as per usual with these, yes, I did buy these, but I'll be returning them for store credit. That way I can buy other ships and do extremely close looks at other ships. Same with the Starfarer tour. I don't longer own that. I returned it for store credit so I could grab these guys up and look at them. I might do one on that one MISC ship I was talking about earlier. I can never remind Reliant Coal, the Reliant. I love that little ship. I didn't think I'd love it. I used to have a Cal-2L Scout thing. Yeah, I didn't enjoy that one bit. I always crashed the shite out of that, but not so much with the Reliant. Probably because it's centered up and down and not offset front. Not an offset cockpit. Anyway, guys and gals, that'll about do it for this video. I think I've gone through enough nonsense. I love this little ship. It's so, so beautiful. It's such a beautiful little functional son of a gun. Oh, God. Cannot express properly in words just how much I adore this ship. And look, there's all the screens properly working. Absolutely love them. And they, of course, are actually working. If you watch the radar there, you can actually see it's showing stuff in front of us. Nifty. Anyway, guys and gals, that's that. Thanks a bunch for watching. Next up, I've already mentioned it'll probably be the coal or something else, who knows. A bit spastic on a lot of this stuff, but we'll find out when the next Star Citizen video comes out. Maybe it'll be a tour of Grim Hex, but I sort of doubt that bit. Anyway, that's that. Thanks a bunch for watching, guys and gals, and I shall see you all next time. Ta-ta.